Okay, I'm going to try a little short video of the garden still in winter, well early spring, and we've just come out of the severe weather. Today is 16th, Tuesday the 16th. I think that's a wren. There's a wren just come flying by. I'm going to show you what an untidy wildlife garden looks like. I call it untidy, and it is untidy at the moment, but honestly it does transform. I do have my bike in the garden, but I do hang things off that in the summer and make it pretty, and plants are scrambling through it, so that bit is untidy. The rest is untidy because it's untouched. It's not been touched now for quite a while, but as you can see, things are greening up and beginning to grow. This is my raspberry bed. These brown sticks that you can see are all raspberry canes, and we have a glutton of raspberries from them. My uncle gave them to me a very long time ago when I first moved here 29 years ago, so they're doing well. We've got green alkanet, which, unless you've got a garden that you don't mind losing control of a bit, green alkanet will take over. As you can see, I've got a few clumps there, but I tell you what, the bees absolutely adore it, and as my garden is so big, I just keep them up in the raspberry bed, and really I don't have any trouble with them. If I have them growing anywhere else, then I just pull them out. So the main clump is here, and then as I go through, I built this brick wall about 20 years ago. All the bricks lying around the garden that I've found, and I built this wall, a little retaining wall, because the ground gets higher up here. More green alkanet there. That's a willow. Hopefully it'll provide some early food for the bees in a few weeks' time. More green alkanet, as I said, it will take over. Now I didn't put it here, it seeded itself here, but again, this is a big garden, and this section of the garden is probably as big as some people's gardens anyway. And when we moved in a long time ago, it was just full of any work that had been happening to the house. A lot of them, it was used like a giant skip, is the only way I can describe it. Oh, there's a robin singing over my head. So I've sort of thrown turf up here to try and get things growing, and now I've got a lot of potential here for insects. This becomes a blaze of colour later in the year. I leave clumps of grass, because I know that's where big bumblebees will hibernate over winter underneath those kind of things. We've got lots of honesty, which the orange tip butterflies love. So there's lots of honesty growing there. Along here it's like a dry hedge. That's the best way of describing it. It's like an embankment. But whenever we've had trees pollarded, I'm not taking any trees down there, trees that are pollarded have been piled up here for years, and now the ivy's grown over it, and it's just a dead hedge. It's great sanctuary for anything that wants to hide in there. We have an upturned pond. This is where the foxes go under here. They haven't dug out so much this year, but last year they dug out a little trench and went underneath. I'm slowly covering that with detritus to put a blanket over to keep it insulated, and I'm covering it with more detritus to make like a dry hedge there too, so they'll feel safer. Then we've got an oak tree in a pot that I grew from a seed. It's contained in that, because I can't have an oak tree grown in the garden. It is a big garden, but not that big. There's a hazel growing behind it, which was a seedling from my mum's garden. She had a beautiful hazel tree, and I brought a seedling back. The catkins are just beginning to appear. Again, another dry hedge. I use all the bits that I put down to make a dry hedge. It's great. That's still building that up. Now, as we go down, you'll see it's quite a long garden. The houses are all the way down there, so it is a big garden. It's not wide, but it's very long. Christmas tree from this year, ready to add to the pile of dry hedging. This was an old piano that was up here, and the ivy is now taking over that. Behind it is a compost bin. It's a metal compost bin. I stopped using it a few years ago, but we have had for 4 years on the run tree bumblebees nesting in it, so I just leave that alone and hopefully we'll get some this year. Planted some Pyrocanthus. That was flowering last year, but I'm in the plant. I think I'm possibly going to move that compost heap. My pots, I shall be making use of these later in the year. They'll be gone. They're just storage for the moment. This is one of those big council compost bins, but I've put this on the top as a bird bath up the top. There's just leaves in here this year. I haven't looked in here to see how things are going, but yep, leaves will slowly rot down in there. That was my leaf compost bin last year. As you can see, it's rotted to nothing. 2 years ago. Right, let's just walk down the garden, because this video's getting a bit long. An old wheelbarrow, it's full of creeping buttercup. Dog rose, which has got completely out of hand. I do really need to put that back. Next door neighbour's garden, as you can see, is a junkyard. You just throw every scrappy thing up here. It doesn't get used at all. But as I've said before, it's quiet, so it's fine. Wildlife love it. The natural path. I need to cut the grass around here so that the ground nesting bees have got short grass. They seem to prefer grass short. I'm loving the moss on my brick over there. Look at that, it's beautiful. It's a real scrubbly pond, I'm afraid. Nothing like Joel's ponds, but it provides sanctuary for frogs and frog spawn. Frogs definitely use it, and the bricks at the back that you can see there, those, the frogs go behind there, safe from the foxes and any heron that should visit. Fortunately, we only had a heron once come down in the garden. We've got silver birch, got 3 of those. This one developed this sort of structure. Got a bat box up there. We did have bats 2 summers ago, and the bats are around. Another bat box over there, but listening to Joel the other day, I think I've put them in the wrong, facing the wrong way. Bird box on that one. That's another birch, silver birch. An enormous cherry tree. Another silver birch over there on the right, and a rowan tree. Planted all of these. There were no trees in the garden when they arrived other than the apple tree. So yeah, you can see it's a very long, narrow garden, and sadly with a 6-foot fence. All the gardens here when we first moved in had got no fences other than low mesh fence. We're on a mesh fence this side on our border. On the opposite side there was a mesh fence, but only a 5-foot one, 3 foot actually, and so the sun just, you could see across all the gardens, and oh well, it's changed now. It's not as sunny as it was, as I say, so just got to work out how to fill this border up really. Slowly adding things. I'll do more this year, but there's lots of bulbs coming up, so that's a good sign. Some crocuses there, and obviously the cyclamen, more bulbs, daffodil bulbs, some ivy. This looks like it's been damaged by the frost a bit, but I'll cut that back later in a few weeks. This is a great shrub if you can get one. This is the grape. It's called grapevine. Not a grapevine. I forget the name of it. It has like a little red flower on that looks like a grape shape. Bees, early bees adore it. Another plant that you need in the garden. So we're coming up here. Did have a nice piece, but can't see any longwort. It's a good one for the garden. Hairy-footed bumblebees love those. Yeah, so long narrow garden. Gears going and going. It's over. Yep. This border used to be a very sunny border, no it's not. Well, it is in the height of summer, but not in the winter. And my shed. Yeah. That's the February garden. Trying this in a pot this year. A native flower, one that Joel loves, from Ashwood Nurseries. Bird's foot trefoil. I have got it in the garden, but I'll try it in a pot too this year. It'd be nice sitting here and watching the bees visiting it. So, yeah, that's the garden this year. Okay, bye for now.